Well, of course, anybody can be tremendously useful to A Rocha because we're scrambling. But I don't want to talk to that. I would recommend they become bankers. Well, that could be nice for your retirement, for one thing. But I think that we're living in the days of slavery, essentially. Christians have their money where they really shouldn't. Just like in the days when slavery was the case. And the arguments against learning to invest sustainably now are exactly the same arguments that we heard in the days of slavery. My French colleague, Jean-François Moreau, has done a huge amount of scholarly work on this. He's a brilliant guy who was teaching at Georgetown University until recently. And what people said was there's a Loctite economic system. It's a triangle. The rich nations send trinkets to Africa, who send slaves to America, and by America I mean North and South, and then the sugar comes back to Britain. And that was a triangle that if you took a piece out, it just didn't work, and the economy as we knew it fell to bits, and that's what they said, we can't do this. We're in a situation now where our economy is driven entirely unsustainably. People know this. There's no doubt about this. But the argument is, we know this, but we can't do anything. And the point is, there's a very, very strong moral argument for changing everything. The shock is that your returns on investment through what is called ethical investing, and we're getting smarter at that, are actually as good as what they call, well, whatever language is used for it, but I would call it sinful investing. In other words, at the expense of the poor in the planet. And many of the people leading those investment operations are Christians. So I think, first of all, we've got to change. And then we've got to remember that this is an opportunity, not a threat. There's a huge opportunity here to do things well and to flourish. But it must start from a zero tolerance on extinction and on impoverishing people and making money by giving them lung cancer or raising their, all the stuff we know about. There are two aspects to it. One is getting out of the stuff we know is wrong, and then there's the creative bit. How can we put our money to work in the world in such a way that benefits creation? Now, I've seen in my 30 years a huge change in the philanthropic world from giving to investment. So probably 90% of the heavy lifting now is being done by earning money that benefits the poor. And I could give you many examples. But I haven't seen that really starting in the environmental world. How can we make money and leave the world a better place than when we started? That's a wonderful intellectual challenge for your generation. And you're probably going to do it best by becoming bankers. But if you're like me, you're never going to, because you can't add 2 and 2. So think of something else. Bankers would be a good place to start. Anywhere. It's anywhere. Farm wonderfully and wisely as worship. Be a worshipful farmer. Half the people farming in Texas are Baptists. Same thing with Mennonites in Manitoba. They never think, at the moment, that how they farm matters to God. They think a lot about how they treat their farm workers, but they don't think that the Lord cares about the soil erosion they're causing or the pesticides they're dumping in the soil or all of this stuff. So there's challenge, pretty well everything, you can redeem it. But probably going to A Rocha would be a cop-out.